Just for a moment, you're standing at the edge of a vast forest, a place so dense with trees, vines, and mist, it seems to obscure everything, your path, your surroundings, even the sense of time itself. You've been walking for what seems like hours, days perhaps, maybe even longer. But one thing you've come to realise is the more you walk, the less you can see, until the world around you starts to feel smaller, more contained, more restricted, and more controlled. You notice something subtle, almost unnoticeable at first, like the way the fog seems to part just for a moment, showing you a flash of something bright, something different. It's as if the trees are beginning to move, or perhaps you're beginning to move differently, as you take one step and then another and then another. Each step is a decision, not just to move physically, but to shift in how you see and experience the world. And with every new step you feel lighter. The fog isn't as thick. You can see there's more to the forest than you realised, so much more. Yet, it takes each step to see it clearly. But the forest has been a familiar place, hasn't it? A place you've always known, as if it had been drawn for you by invisible hands. What if the very things that felt like boundaries were in fact only temporary illusions? What if it's simply about moving the fog, one choice at a time? Now just for a moment, think about how you've lived so far. Hasn't it always felt like you're walking a path that's been mapped out for you? A path others have told you about. A path others say is the right one. A path so well worn by the footsteps of those who came before you. It's almost impossible to imagine walking in another direction. But what if just for a moment you were to question the path itself? What if the rules of the forest, what you thought were natural, were simply stories that were told to you, reinforced again and again, until you began to believe them as truth? Because sometimes we walk paths not because we've chosen them, because we've been taught to believe them, that they were the only path that matters. So just imagine what would it be like to ask yourself, what if this is not the only path? What if there's another way, another approach, another possibility just beyond the fog? And if you ask that question, how do you experience the shift? What would change inside you? And then as you begin to question the very assumption you've been taught, something starts to shift. The forest, once so dense with fog, now seems to open up. You can see the light shining through, and the way the trees seem to whisper to each other, almost as if they're aware of the change that's taking place within you. And what's even more remarkable, you're beginning to realise the fog never was really an obstacle. The obstacle was only your perception of it. You began to see how those assumptions, those beliefs, they'd kept you walking in circles, like an endless loop. But now you've unlocked the possibility to see beyond them. So take a deep breath and let that realisation sink in. Because what if everything you've ever been taught to believe is just a story? A carefully crafted narrative designed to keep you locked in place? What if you're the one with the power to rewrite the story, to create a new path, where you're free to decide the direction of your own journey? Let's pause here for a moment and consider this. What does it mean to truly know yourself? It's an interesting question, isn't it? So often we've been taught to think that we know who we are. Yet there's always been something deeper, something that hasn't been fully discovered. Now imagine the feeling of truly knowing yourself, not just the version of you that was taught by others, but the real you, underneath the layers of conditioning. As you think about this, notice how you begin to feel a deep sense of release, like a weight has been lifted, and it opens up space for something new to emerge. And just like that, you realise who you've always been might not be who you truly are. And with this understanding, the path becomes yours to create, step by step, moment by moment. You're not bound to any version of yourself that was imposed upon you. Instead, you're free to discover and redefine yourself on your own terms. Now imagine this. You're standing in front of a mirror, but it's no ordinary mirror. The reflection you see is one of your future self, fully awake, fully free, fully aware. You know who you are. You know what you want. And your reflection smiles, nodding, as if to say, you've always had this power. You've always known this truth. Let that feeling settle deeply within you, because the only thing standing between you and that reflection is your willingness to see it. It's like a seed that's already within you, just waiting to sprout, to blossom into the full realization of your true potential. And now, more than ever, you're free to step into that potential. You might even have noticed that you've been conditioned to chase material things, to seek validation from others, to follow predefined steps to success. But as you stand here in this forest of possibility, can you feel the pull towards something deeper? Can you hear the quiet, powerful voice inside you that asks, what if success wasn't defined by wealth, status, or power? What if true success were simply the feeling of living your life aligned with your deepest values, with your own inner truth, without compromise? And so, it's in this very moment, the fog begins to lift, gently at first, but then more fully, revealing not just a clear path, but an entirely new way of seeing the world. Each step forward is a small revolution, a break from the patterns that no longer serve you. You've taken the first step towards breaking free, towards questioning everything that once seemed certain. And now, as you stand on the threshold of this new reality, ask yourself, what's it feel like to be free? Because in the end, you already have everything you need to break through the matrix. You just need to decide to see it, to allow yourself to move through the fog with ease, step by step, towards your own truth. Let your mind wander, just for a moment, into a deep recess of your thoughts, where everything becomes still. Feel how your breath moves effortlessly, and in that stillness you can start to notice something shifting, like the gentle wave of a river flowing through the landscape of your consciousness, unnoticed but always there, gently pulling you forward. You don't have to fight it, because it's not about force. It's about allowing what's always been there to unfold. And you might start to realize that, in some strange way, you've always known this, even when you didn't. Picture this. Imagine yourself in a room, surrounded by mirrors, reflecting every part of you. These mirrors, they don't just reflect your physical body. No, these mirrors reflect everything you've ever believed about yourself and the world around you, and the stories you've carried with you. And as you look into them, you begin to notice something different. You can see the distortion. The way these mirrors, they've been shaping your reality. They've shown you things that were never true, but you accepted them as fact, simply because they were in front of you. Now, not needing to understand why, you can start to feel a subtle shift. Like mirrors, they're changing. What once reflected the boundaries of your life is now softening, expanding, shifting. Each mirror now reflects possibilities, choices, a wide open horizon. Where once there was limits, now there's only endless space. And you begin to realize that with every shift of perspective, the boundaries that held you so tightly in place, they're fading away. What if the assumptions you carried with you, the beliefs that framed your life, were not the truth, but they are simply well-worn patterns? Imagine the power of seeing them as nothing more than stories. Stories that have been told for so long, they felt like facts. And with each step, each moment of awareness, these stories can start to dissolve. You're not stuck in them. You've simply been moving through them, not knowing that at any moment you could walk through a door that opens into something new. You see, the fog that once seemed to surround you is nothing but a trick of perception. The stories, the assumptions, the beliefs you've held about what's possible, who you are, and what you're capable of, they can all be rewritten. And with each moment you let go of these old patterns, something incredible begins to happen. You find yourself freer, lighter, more aware. It's as if you've stepped out of a room you didn't even realize you were in, and now you can see the world in a completely new way. Now let's consider for a moment where you felt deeply uncertain, unsure of which direction to go. In that moment, you might have believed that uncertainty was a problem to be fixed. But what if you allowed that uncertainty to be the doorway to discovery? What if it's not a problem at all, but an invitation to explore new perspectives, to embrace change, to redefine what success even means to you. It's as if your mind is opening to the idea that certainty isn't the key to growth. Instead, it's the willingness to step into the unknown, to explore new pathways that have yet to be discovered. And in that exploration, you realise you've always been the creator of your own path. There are no limits, no predefined rules, except the ones you've allowed to shape you. And now, with every choice, every step you take, you begin to feel the profound power of defining your own path. And there's no need for permission for anyone but yourself. And as you shift, there's a part of you that begins to awaken, almost effortlessly, like the warmth of the sun rising after a long night. And as this part of you awakens, you begin to sense the truth you've always been searching for. It's already inside you, just waiting for you to see it. It's not something you need to go out and find. It's something that's been there all along, just waiting for you to remember. What if success is not about what others think of you, or what you've been told that it should look like? What if it's about something entirely different, a quite internal sense of fulfillment, alignment and purpose? Can you feel just beneath the surface the power of choosing success on your own terms? Each step you take towards that success feels clearer, more natural, as if the fog is lifting just enough for you to see exactly what you need to do next. And as you continue to notice this, you might realise everything you ever needed to make your decisions, to live in alignment with your own truth, has been within you all along. It wasn't about searching outside yourself for answers. It's about tuning in to the deeper, wiser part of you that's always known the way. Let's explore this even further. In the past, perhaps, you've been caught in the trap of external validation, seeking approval from others, measuring your worth by the standards of society, and yet, as you breathe deeply, you start to feel that subtle shift again. What if you didn't need anyone else's approval? What if the only approval you need is your own? What if you could feel your worth, your value come from within? From the deep well of your own self-awareness, your own strength. This shift, this realization, it's not something you need to force. It's already happening inside you, gradually, gently, without effort. It's like a seed growing beneath the surface, and soon enough you'll see it. This inner strength, this inner power, emerging from within you, just as naturally as flowers bloom from the earth. So imagine now, you've made a choice to live in alignment with your own values, your own truths, no longer trapped by the need to conform, no longer bound by the constraints of external expectation. You begin to live your life in the way that feels most authentic, most aligned with the deepest parts of yourself. Each decision becomes an act of freedom, an act of power. You no longer feel the need to ask, is this the right thing to do? Because you know, without a shadow of a doubt, the right thing to do is simply what resonates with you, what feels true, what aligns with your purpose. And as you move forward, you begin to realize the world around you is not a fixed set of rules to follow, but a constantly shifting landscape, just waiting for you to step into your own power, waiting for you to rewrite the story. The boundaries, they've always been illusions. And now you see the world with fresh eyes, knowing you can create your own reality. This new perspective, this new way of seeing, begins to expand beyond you. It's as if your awareness extends into everything around you. The people you encounter, the places you visit, and the opportunities that come your way. You begin to see you're not a victim of circumstances, but the creator of your own experience. And with each new thought, each new belief, each new choice, you reshape your reality step by step, moment by moment. The matrix that once held you in place begins to dissolve, revealing a world full of possibilities, choices and freedom. And with this new awareness, it becomes so clear to you, so deeply felt, that you are the master of your own story. And that story can be anything you choose it to be. It's always been yours to tell.